The world remembers this moment. Summit halls that once echoed with rivalry, suspicion, and sharp debate suddenly fell into a trembling silence. United Nations chambers, G7 tables, royal courts, every space where power was measured and guarded, shifted in one instant. The impossible happened. Leaders who had never agreed on anything, who once shook fists across borders and bartered threats across microphones, sat down as one. And the reason? You. Chosen one, history itself whispered as if caught in holy awe. Your presence carried something that no army, no treaty, no election could enforce. It was not coercion. It was not negotiation. It was something deeper, the resonance of unity carried in your very being. In your shadow, the swords of hostility grew heavy. In your light, divisions bent, like iron heated by fire, until they softened into peace. Centuries of prophecy seemed to collide in that single hour. Isaiah's vision awakened. They will beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation will not take up sword against nation, nor will they train for war anymore. Isaiah 2 verse 4. The summit shook, not with rage but with reverence. As if heaven itself had leaned down and breathed upon the earth, world leaders lifted their eyes from conflict and looked toward a higher horizon. They were not merely responding to diplomacy, they were responding to you. The declaration is simple, unshakable, and world-altering. You united the world leaders. Imagine it. The chambers of the United Nations, usually cluttered with papers, flags, and the weariness of endless debate, suddenly illuminated with a single hue of harmony. The G7 conference table, where economic storms are argued over and policies clash, softened into a circle of trust. Even palaces and royal halls, ancient symbols of rivalry and pride, seemed to bow under one invisible banner. Across the globe, the map no longer glowed with dividing lines and borders but with one light, a radiant color spreading from nation to nation, continent to continent, until the earth itself pulsed with a single heartbeat. It was as though the planet exhaled centuries of war and finally breathed peace. And at the center of this vision, it was not a treaty, nor a new political theory, nor a sudden technological invention. It was you. Your presence carried a fragrance of reconciliation, a tone that made enemies hear brothers in each other's voices. Your very arrival in the halls of power uncoiled the knots of distrust and softened the stone of stubbornness. Leaders once anchored in unyielding pride found their words melting into understanding. Presidents who arrived ready to protect their interests left with hands clasped in promise. Prime ministers who thought only of borders suddenly dreamed of bridges. Monarchs who guarded traditions began to imagine futures shared. Do not miss this. What happened was not human calculation. It was not political choreography. It was the eruption of something beyond Earth's design. It was heaven's pulse breaking into history through the vessel of your life. Stay with me, because in a moment, I will show you how even the strongest, the proudest, the most immovable leaders bowed. They bowed not to pressure, not to fear, but to the unity carried inside of you. Do you see it now? What the world witnessed in that hour was not just politics at work. It was prophecy unfolding. The uniting of leaders, the silencing of quarrels, the softening of hearts, this was heaven writing its design across Earth's stage. Scripture has whispered of this moment for ages. How good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity. Psalm 133 verse 1. That they all may be one, Father, just as you are in me and I am in you. May they also be in us so that the world may believe that you have sent me. John 17 verse 21. This is not coincidence. This is divine order. The unity of nations is not a man-made project, it is the reflection of heaven's own heartbeat. And you, chosen one, are the vessel. Through you, the prayer of Christ himself is touching earth. Through you, what seemed impossible has become visible. Think of it, leaders who spent lifetimes sharpening words of division suddenly finding peace on their lips. Entire delegations who once braced for argument now leaning forward in curiosity, listening, willing. All of this because you carried the fragrance of unity into the room. But here is the deeper truth, it is not just for them. This same unity, this same calling extends to those who are hearing my voice now. Because heaven never chooses only one to walk alone, heaven always raises a first, so that many may follow. And now, the invitation comes to you. If your heart is burning as you hear this, if something within you recognizes that you too were born for more than division, for more than argument, for more than watching wars rage on, then you are hearing heaven's call. This is your moment to step out from being a spectator and step into the identity of a first chosen one. The ones heaven anoints, the ones history will remember, the ones through whom unity flows like a river. If you want to walk among them, if you are ready to let your life carry the mantle of peace, if you are willing to be counted among those through whom heaven works, then take the step now. Backhand index pointing right, click join below. This is not just a button. It is a declaration. It is you saying, I will not stand by while the world fractures. I will be part of heaven's answer. I will walk as one of the first chosen ones. Do not delay. Every movement begins with a remnant, a small circle willing to say yes. Let your yes be counted today. Behind the closed doors where the world expects shouting, it was different this time. The air, normally thick with suspicion, was strangely calm. No one stormed out. No one slammed their fist on the table. Instead, silence, a sacred kind of silence, filled the room. Leaders glanced at one another, uncertain, yet unwilling to break the peace that had suddenly arrived. And then, almost imperceptibly, it happened. One pair of eyes shifted. A single leader, one whose voice usually cut like steel, softened their gaze. Across the table, another leader responded with the smallest of nods. That was all it took. The atmosphere bent. The tension cracked. The room began to breathe again, not with hostility, but with harmony. What caused it? Not a new resolution. Not a clever diplomat's speech. It was the moment your name was spoken. The moment they remembered you were present. Something beyond them, beyond politics, beyond rivalry, entered with your mention. From that second, conversations changed. Tone shifted. Where there would have been outbursts, there were pauses. Where there would have been accusations, there was understanding. Instead of guarded statements, leaders began to listen. And every time the peace seemed fragile, every time old habits tried to reemerge, eyes drifted back toward you. Your presence was the anchor. Your influence was not loud, but it was undeniable. In the very places where centuries of hostility had carved trenches, suddenly bridges appeared. This is what heaven does. It plants a living sign, so no one can deny its movement. And in that room, you were that sign. You may not see yourself this way. Perhaps you imagine influence as microphones, headlines, breaking news. But true influence is quieter. It is the way people adjust when you enter a room. It is the way conflict softens without explanation. It is the way hope rises in voices when you speak. If world leaders, the hardest hearts, the fiercest rivals, could not resist the unity you carried, why should you doubt your impact in everyday life? Why should you imagine that this mantle is too great for you? The truth is simple. The world has already tasted the difference your presence makes. And those who once could not sit together are proof of it. This is your sign. Heaven has marked you. Do not mistake this moment for fame. The unity that spread across nations was not meant to place you on a pedestal of applause. It was never about celebrity, never about headlines, never about the shallow praise of men. This was mission. This was mantle. The peace that touched leaders through you was not a performance, it was an assignment. You were not chosen to entertain history, but to change it. Nations did not breathe easier in your presence so that you could be admired. They breathed easier because you carried oxygen they could not find anywhere else. Understand this: heaven does not waste its anointing. If you have been entrusted with the power to unite, then it is because division is gasping for air. If your presence carries reconciliation, then it is because the world is suffocating on hatred. If your words calm storms, then it is because humanity is drowning in noise. This is why you were chosen. Not because you are flawless, but because you are available. Not because you are perfect, but because you are willing. Heaven saw in you what governments could not manufacture, what armies could not enforce, what laws could not legislate, the power of peace carried in a single vessel. And so the mantle fell upon you, not as a medal to wear, but as a weight to carry. The mission is not about recognition, the mission is about restoration. When leaders sat as one, when borders seemed to dissolve in a moment of trust, when enemies leaned in to hear one another, that was heaven showing you a glimpse of your purpose. That was a preview of the story you were born to live. You are not chosen for spectacle. You are chosen for service. And the nations will continue to breathe through you, not because you sought honor, but because you said yes to the assignment. Look around you. Wars are raging. Borders are burning. Economies tremble like towers of glass in the wind. Families fracture, societies polarize, voices grow harsher with every headline. The world is not waiting for another theory, another conference, another promise. The world is bleeding now. Unity cannot wait for tomorrow. Peace cannot be postponed to the next generation. The fractures are widening even as you hear these words. And every second lost, every moment delayed, costs lives, costs futures, costs nations their stability. This is why heaven moved so swiftly. This is why leaders bowed when your presence entered the room. Because what is at stake is not comfort, it is survival. And here is the urgent truth: the role is not optional. The calling is not someday. Your influence is not a seed for the future, it is the answer for the present. You are not waiting for the right time, you are the right time. The planet has cried out long enough. The clash of weapons, the collapse of trust, the crisis of hope, all of it has reached a breaking point. And heaven has chosen you to be the crack where light bursts through. The need is not tomorrow. The need is now. For too long, you may have seen yourself as an observer. Watching headlines, watching debates, watching nations rise and stumble as though you were a distant spectator. But heaven never wrote you into the margins of history. You are not background. You are not audience. You are catalyst. It was not chance that shifted politics. It was you. It was not coincidence that pride melted in hardened leaders. It was you. The atmosphere bent because you were present. You are not a witness of change, you are the reason change ignited. Think of the bridge. A bridge does not simply watch rivers flow beneath it. A bridge does not simply admire the opposite banks. A bridge connects. It carries. It bears the weight of others so that they may cross into places they could not reach alone. This is who you are. You are not standing at the edge of history hoping for a miracle. You are the miracle's vessel. You are the bridge across which enemies become allies, across which nations find peace, across which humanity remembers its shared breath. Do not belittle your role. To call yourself a bystander would be to deny the evidence written in the very halls of power. To reduce yourself to an onlooker would be to insult the authority heaven has placed in you. No, your identity has shifted. You are the reason leaders sat as one. You are the hinge on which the door of unity swung open. You are not an observer of politics. You are the bridge that politics crossed. Let this truth sink deep. You are not small, you are not silent, you are not insignificant. You are chosen. And chosen ones do not stand on the sidelines. They stand in the center where history turns. Perhaps you wonder, how can this unity truly be seen? Look closer at the signs that already surround you. Think of the conversations in your daily life. When you walk into the room, arguments that were sharpening suddenly lose their edge. People lower their voices without knowing why. What seemed like a storm moments before begins to calm, as though peace itself followed you through the door. Watch the way people of different opinions respond when they sit near you. Those who normally clash find themselves listening. Opposites discover common ground. Walls of ideology turn into tables of dialogue. You may think it's coincidence, but it is not. It is the mantle you carry. Notice how tension dissolves in your presence. Friends reconcile. Families soften. Strangers open. It's as if hearts, without consulting the mind, instinctively know that hostility cannot breathe in the atmosphere around you. And then comes the moment that is most revealing. After peace settles, after conflict untangles, eyes turn. They turn to you. Not because you demanded attention, not because you raised your voice, but because something in them recognizes the source. They look to you as if to say, "What just happened? Why does the impossible feel possible when you are here?" These are not small things. They are heavenly fingerprints. They are proof that what happened with world leaders is not isolated, it is consistent. From the halls of power to the dinner table, from parliaments to classrooms, the same current flows, unity manifests around you. Understand this well, you are not merely a symbol. You are a living catalyst. Every time discord dissolves in your shadow, every time enemies pause and reconsider in your company, every time reconciliation is born in your presence, heaven is confirming your assignment. The signs are all around you. You do not just bring unity, you embody it. Now comes the moment of sealing. Unity is not just an idea you admire, it is a mantle you choose. And every mantle must be sealed with a visible vow. If your heart is stirred, if you feel the fire of this calling, then I invite you to take a step that heaven sees, a step that marks you among the first chosen ones. It is simple, but it is sacred. That is more than a comment, more than a transaction. It is your declaration before heaven and before earth. It is you saying, "I am not just hearing the call, I am answering it. I am not just inspired, I am committed. I am not just a witness, I am a carrier." Think of it this way, when nations sign treaties, they place their seal upon paper. When kings pledge allegiance, they mark it with their crest. When prophets were called, they built altars as memorials. Today, your seal, your altar, your crest, is this act of faith. Do not underestimate the weight of obedience. In the unseen realm, this step reverberates. It says to heaven, "Yes, use me." It says to earth, "Yes, count me among the peacemakers." It says to history, "Yes, let my name be remembered among those who carried unity into their generation." So if you are ready, take the step. Press Super Thanks. Choose $20. And write your vow, "I stand for unity." This is your seal. This is your moment. And heaven is watching for your response. Unity is not only a summit event or a historic moment. It is a lifestyle. And if you are chosen to carry this mantle, then every day must reflect it. Peace is not sustained by one grand act, it is preserved through consistent, deliberate steps. Here are the practices of a peacemaker. 1. Speak declarations of peace. Do not wait for conflict to arise before you open your mouth. Wake in the morning and declare, "Today, peace will reign wherever I go." Your words shape the atmosphere long before arguments have the chance to begin. 2. Listen deeply. A peacemaker's strength is not in louder speech, but in deeper listening. When others rush to defend their views, you choose to hear the heart beneath the words. This kind of listening disarms anger more effectively than any rebuttal. 3. Practice fair speech. Do not twist words, do not shade the truth, do not weaponize language. Let your yes be yes, and your no be no. When people recognize that your words are just, they find safety in your presence, and unity has room to grow. 4. Give soft answers. When hostility is thrown at you, do not throw it back. A gentle reply is not weakness, it is strategy. Proverbs says that a soft answer turns away wrath. Let this be your weapon, quiet strength that diffuses fury. 5. Take small steps of reconciliation. Global peace is born from everyday practice. A call to a family member. A kind word to a rival. An act of forgiveness towards someone who wounded you. These steps, multiplied across lives and nations, become the great current of unity. Do not despise the small. Every ripple contributes to the tide. And as you live these habits, you are not only protecting your own mantle of peace, you are multiplying it in the world around you. Understand this, leaders may have sat together once, but for unity to last, it must be carried in daily lives. This is your mission, to live as a peacemaker, not just at the summit, but at the table, at the workplace, in every encounter. Unity is not a moment. Unity is your lifestyle. Lift your hands, lift your heart, because this is not the end of a message, it is the beginning of your commissioning. Let us pray. Lord, you are the God of peace, the one who makes wars cease, the one who calls nations into unity. Today we lift every chosen one before you. Let their presence be a vessel of reconciliation. Let their footsteps silence conflict. Let their words heal divisions. Let their lives open doors that politics could never unlock. Make them living bridges between enemies, anchors in the storm, voices that speak your harmony into chaos. Lord, let nations breathe when they arrive, let wars quiet when they speak, let leaders remember heaven's call when they see them. Commission them now as bearers of unity, as vessels of your divine plan, as the first fruits of the world you promised. And now, chosen one, this mantle is yours to carry. You are not leaving this moment the same. You are leaving commissioned, empowered, marked by heaven. The unity that leaders once felt in your presence is now your lifestyle, your assignment, your mission.